fresh out of the hospital. But I promised Arnie I would be here, and as Arnie knows, I never break my promise, especially to something that's so important to me, being a survivor of a victim of homicide. My father was murdered, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence as well. First and foremost, I actually was hoping all of you would take a moment and turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself. Go on, shake hands. It's not flu season anymore. It's now bikini season. And go on, introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm working. Making a movie.
Okay.
We are quite a group here tonight of not only survivors of victims of homicide, elected officials, and I think it's important that we come together as a community to learn each other, understand each other, and work together to create positive change in our communities. Ooh, sorry. Every 2 minutes, a woman is being raped. So already in the time that I've spoken, there's a woman being raped right now. 1 out of 3 women are a victim of sexual assault. I have 2 older sisters, and I was the one out of the 3 of us. 25% of women are victims of domestic violence. And there is close to 1 million domestic violence cases a year, which yields $5.8 billion in health costs. And I had to rattle off the numbers on money. I am a financial advisor. But it's $5.8 billion. That is a national epidemic, if you ask me. So here we are in a room full of people, some of us survivors and some of us victims. And I'm going to speak to 2 sets of people tonight, the survivors and our elected officials. Tonight is not a night for debate on politics, but it is a call to our elected officials who I'm very grateful to be here supporting us tonight. It's a call to action. I invite you all to sit down with me and a handful of all of us victims to have a conversation about victims' rights with a community of not only survivors, but the advocates that are also here. Because as some of you may or may not know, in the United States, the accused have upwards of 23 protections under the constitutions. Do you know how many victims have? None. Let me repeat that. The accused, rapists, murderers, I was going to say robbers, but it's thieves, all have upwards of 23 protections in the Constitution. We have none to protect us during the judicial process. Victims have none. And we, I say we because I myself am a victim, had nothing during my judicial proceedings. There are 33 states in the country that have victim rights in their state constitutions. Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, Maine, and yes, Massachusetts is not one of them. We are not one of them. Victims under the same crime that an accused is tried under have no rights. The accused rights trump victims every time. I know, I've experienced this firsthand as the man who murdered my father lives down the street from me after 6 years in jail. And the man who beat me with 4 others also lives a few miles away. People do not know how to respond to victims. And we as victims do not need to apologize for asking for rights. We are not third-class citizens. Victim rights are a necessity, not a luxury. They can coexist with the rights of the accused. And with that, I ask our officials here tonight to consider looking into the Crime Victim Rights Amendment with the House Joint Resolution 40 to give you, me, and us who are here as survivors the rights that we deserve. It is not just about changing the legislature. It is about changing the Constitution. With that, I'd like to address my fellow survivors. I wanted to highlight major events that have happened and touched me this past year. Some of them have left deep marks on me, as I'm sure they have left on you. Some actually have left some smiles as well. And I'm no longer embarrassed to admit that I cry, and yes, even big girls do cry. And I will very likely cry this evening, as I always do. This year I have wept. I've wept for my friends that ache. Ache because their daughters were murdered, or because they lost a father, a sister, a child, a friend, a spouse, or someone that mattered in their world. Having lost my father was devastating, and it's been 15 years. I wept for my friends who have become injured or ill and fight daily battles to survive and live, because as survivors we know it is a battle every single day to wake up. And nothing ever seems okay, does it? I've wept for those I've never met. Arnie, I've never met your daughter, but I weep for you. I've wept for people I never knew, have never known, have never even thought existed. Lest we forget, on May 31st last year, the widest F5 tornado ever recorded touched down near Oklahoma City, leaving 18 dead in the wake of its chaotic misery. A natural disaster. For me, I can sometimes understand. But when it's unnatural and man-made, I don't get it. On August 22nd last year, a chemical weapon was used to kill 1,500 civilians in Syria. And yes, these are in other countries, but this is something that we battle here today. And that included 426 children. 426 children were murdered. I say that, and I'm still in disbelief. On September 21st, in an upscale mall in Nairobi last year, over 67 people were held hostage, tortured, and murdered in heinous and unthinkable ways. And as you all see, I am weeping now. The term casualty for me is a very difficult one when we talk about homicide. There's nothing casual about losing someone. And of course, I would be remiss not to mention April 15th, a year ago. The day every Bostonian and the like will vividly remember, when two cowards whose names shall not be mentioned, and I liken it to Voldemort, I do have a 6-year-old, bombed the finish line, and then continued on a homicidal spree, killing, injuring, and traumatizing innocent people, including, I know, all of you. Because we live it like we did, just like it was our children, our families. I know you all felt just like you did when it happened to you. The streets were rattled in Boston, but it also rattled our nation. But we are not ones to be messed with. We would not let ourselves be destroyed. Instead, people came forward by the thousands, offering blankets, water, their homes to stranded runners, and even their own blood. And droves of people from all over the world poured out their love and support. And this is the type of love and support that we should be pouring out to each and every one of us here. It is the love and it is the community that each of us deserve. I could go on about the ills of this world, both natural and man-made. Sorry. But I'd like to do something different. I wanted to share a life-altering lesson that I learned this past year. And I hope that you will take it with you and perhaps share this lesson to others in your community. It was a lesson that was very important for me to learn in my life. And it was one I'd learned before, but not one I felt or understood its meaning. And it's actually an astronomy lesson. On Friday, October 18th of 2013, some of the world got to witness a penumbral lunar eclipse, where the moon passed through the Earth's shadow. This being one of several different types of eclipses that occur. Ah, yes, the moon. What a mystical body it truly is. Once believed to have been flat, it is now a well-known fact that it is as round as our eyes, as our hearts, as our community. And how powerful the moon is, its gravitational pull dictating the tides on the earth. The lesson I learned this year from the moon and the eclipse is about light. See, in an umbra, it is the darkest part of the moon. Why does it matter? Well, I realized that the only thing in the universe that can penetrate or change the darkness that we all feel, being survivors, is the light. Yes, it's light. It is so simple, and yet for me, so profound. It is the light that comes from love, that comes from joy, that comes from community, that comes from togetherness. And I, like many of you, have had my challenges in life, my heartaches, my losses, my injuries, and my defeats. But the only thing that has ever fixed any of it and made up for any of it is light. And all of it is bearable because of light. The light that comes from paying forward, from doing good, from kindness. The light that comes from pure love. And I've been that blessed with all of you here tonight, shining in my universe, and I hope that in some way I am shining on yours. One day, the universe will be aglow, I hope. With that, I hope that you all take the time to share your light and your joy from your loved ones. And I leave you all with a quote that I actually just heard yesterday, but it made so much sense to me. It's from Albert Einstein, 3 rules of work. But I'm going to change it and say it's the 3 rules of surviving. 1, from clutter, find simplicity. 2, from discord, find harmony. And 3, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. This is our opportunity to create positive social change. Thank you all for letting me be here tonight, and Arnie, much love to you.